Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be breaking down Brawl Talk completely. There's some balance changes which you probably missed. There's a bunch of hypercharges. We're going to be talking about how strong I think they'll be, and of course the two brand new brawlers. If you want to check out my reaction with everything with Brawl Talk, check out my second channel. I did a video on that. My first initial reaction, it was crazy. Brawl Talk was a lot to dive into, but of course we really want to look at what brawlers are getting changed, the reworks, what they'll mean, and of course how strong the new brawlers will be. So make sure to subscribe if you're not already, because all of the sneak peek content will be coming at you straight away. All the balance changes, all the meta stuff. Literally, this channel is the best for it by far. So let's dive into it then. So the balance changes, let's just get those over straight away. I'm going to be starting off with Melody. So she's receiving a HP nerf from 8,200 health to 7,200. So this is a 1,000 HP nerf, around 12%, which actually is quite substantial when you think about it. I don't really see Melody becoming a much worse brawler because of this, because her notes still did a lot of damage. She still has 3 dashes, and she's still got a shield gadget, so I still think she's going to be an incredibly strong brawler. Easily S tier still, in my opinion. Next up with another nerf, we have Angelo. So his attack damage is actually receiving a 9% nerf. You can see in a few clips during Brawl Talk, he deals 400 damage at minimum, which normally he deals about 440. So this just goes to show that his maximum range is going from 4,400 to 4,000, which is a 9% damage nerf at maximum range, which is actually quite considerable, especially when you've got his poison as well. It's not going to be dealing as much damage, but still 4,000 damage per shot with an arrow is still insane. He's getting a hypercharge as well on top of that. So yeah, I still think Angelo is going to be pretty strong, right? And then lastly, the final one that I can find, there's probably some other ones as well that I missed, but it's just so hard to look at every single clip. But the last one is actually Hank, and he's receiving a buff. So he's actually going from 10,800 HP to 11,200, which is a 4% HP buff. I think this is pretty much reverting the HP nerf, which they did when they reworked his super healing, because they probably thought that Hank would be too strong, but they were quite deluded with that, so they've actually reverted that. I don't think it's going to impact Hank a lot, but it's nice. At least Hank's getting a buff. So now we're going to be moving on to the 7 new hypercharges come into the game, and we're going to be starting off with Barley's. So Barley's hypercharge, he throws 3 big waves of supers, and he destroys grass. So of course, it's actually going to help him out, because his biggest weakness is by far like grass, and people sneaking up to him, especially assassins. So this actually might be a pretty underrated use case for him. And of course, just being able to cover a wide area, it's going to help him out. I think it's going to be a very strong hypercharge. It's definitely what Barley needs in the meta. Next up, we've got Frank's. So Frank's super affects in 360 degrees. It's just insane. I literally looked at it on an initial reaction. I was like, what? This is just dumb broken. This sounds crazy strong. I think it's going to really pair well with his gadget active noise cancellation, so they can't cancel out his hypercharged super. It's just going to be absolutely nuts. Maybe we're overestimating it a little bit, but I think it'll be very strong. It's going to put Frank right at the top of the meta, especially with his rework. Next up, we have Angelo's hypercharge. So his super follows him wherever he goes. The reason why this is insane is because normally you just run away from Angelo and his super, and that's somehow how you counter it, right? Because it's so strong because of the poison damage. But now Angelo can move with it. That's insane. Angelo's he's probably going to be the best brawler in the game by far now with his hypercharge. If he doesn't receive any other nerfs, which I didn't see, he's going to be dumb broken. Like, it's crazy. This hypercharge is actually a lot stronger than probably people will realize. Next up, we got Piper's hypercharge. So Piper drops 6 bombs. Now it looks like could even be more. I didn't completely see all of them, but Danny just said she drops more bombs, and then she knocks back enemies upon landing. So not only does she have a knockback when she lands, and then you can use another knockback with your auto aimer gadget. This could be pretty broken. Piper could be quite an aggressive brawler. It's definitely going to help out Piper in the meta, and I say she's in and around the B/A tier. This could easily skyrocket her back up into the S tier 100%, because she's going to be like a sniper assassin. Next hypercharge is Ems' hypercharge. So it pushes back brawlers with her super and 360 spray around her. So this is actually going to be really underrated in my opinion, because the main problem with Ems is once you run out of pushbacks with your gadget, then you just become really vulnerable. Now with his hypercharge, I think the area is bigger. 360 spray when you first knock, I think when you knock back someone, this could be pretty broken in my opinion. I think it's definitely going to skyrocket Ems, because she's always been in the middle of the pack, so it's definitely going to be a big buff to her. Next up, we got Rico. So his super projectile projectiles bounce even further. So I can imagine this just being like Rico's mutation. I was actually quite excited for this. I felt like I could have done maybe something different, but this just makes sense with Rico. I think it's going to make him really strong. Imagine in heist and you're trying to finish the heist safe. This could allow for even more plays, just a little bit more toxic. I think this got good potential. I'm excited to try this one out, especially with team wipe potential. And then lastly, for hypercharges, we've got Gale. So his super is much wider and it fires twice. So of course, dealing double the damage, could do double the stun if you've got the stun star power. Again, I was a little bit about this one because I was expecting something a little bit different, but I still feel like this is going to be pretty strong. Now moving on to the free reworks, and this is actually exciting. These are the type of balance changes which I really love. I like it when there's just forgotten features with brawlers that get reworked, and definitely with Frank, he's been needing a rework for years now. Finally, he's getting a really good one. This could honestly break him, especially seeing some of the clips. I was a little bit scared. So when Frank has less HP, he has a shorter attack delay, so he can spam out shots so fast. Of course, Frank has his built-in attack delay to his main attack, his super, whatever else. And I think, obviously, once you get below like 50% HP, he's just going to shred people. Like, he actually is going to shred people. And you think with Frank, oh, well, when he's less HP, you know, he's quite squishy and vulnerable. Well, he's not, because even when Frank's below 50% HP, he's still going to have like 7,000, which is still more than a lot of brawlers in the game right now. So yeah, I think Frank might be the new best brawler in the game. I think that might be pretty safe to presume. That would be hilarious, to be honest, but yeah, Frank Meta, here we come. Next up, we have Chester's rework. So his Bellomania star power is being reworked so that his first spell is dealing 2 times the damage, which is now 2,560, whilst Bellomania is just being baseline now, which has happened in the past with other star powers and stuff. This probably means that Otis as well, his star power, which gives him an extra projectile per ammo, that's probably going to get reworked in the future, right? And there's probably a few other situations, but I'm at least glad they've picked up on this. They're like, hey, there's this clear disbalance between star powers. They're looking to fix it. I'm glad. This Chester rework might actually be a lot more underrated than people realize, because 2,560 damage with your first attack. So that basically means you've got 2 bells and then 2 bells and 3 then 4. That's insane. You're going to deal a lot of damage. I'm kind of scared for that one. Chester might actually secretly be really, really strong with this one. And then finally, we have Meg. So she's actually receiving a few buffs and a few nerfs. So Meg's getting a lot more projectiles per attack. But to make up for this, they're shortening her range. The reason for this is they're just trying to make Meg a lot more fun. Like, Meg is just a chip damage brawler, right? You just use her for her HP. So I'm actually glad if you're trying to do something proactive about it. But then to kind of make this a little bit more impactful, because of course she has shorter range, so she needs a bit more HP. Her HP is going from 7,400 to 8,000, which is an 8% buff, which is, I would say, needed, because you actually need more HP to get closer to the opponents. But then another nerf is that her damage projectile is going from 420 per projectile to 340, so that's nearly a 20% damage nerf. But to make up for that, of course, she's getting more projectiles, so her DPS should go up quite a lot. I'm not too sure how many projectiles more she's getting, but looks like a lot more. I think like double probably. So this is a big change to make. I'm not too sure how this is really going to impact her. I think it's going to change up her playstyle completely, because before she used to be meta in like bounty, knockout, countering the likes of Pipe and Mandy, etc. But now with very limited range, she could get torn apart by those snipers. So I think she's going to play a different part in the meta now. I'm excited to try it out. So now we're going to be breaking down the 2 new brawlers coming into the game. And we're going to be starting off with Berry. So he's an epic brawler. He's a thrower brawler, so very similar to a lot of brawlers like Barley and Willow in terms of like the attack range, but he heals and deals damage similar to Byron. So this is actually how I pictured like Doug, for example, how he should have probably been reworked. So they probably thought, hey, let's just rip up Doug and just create a nice unicorn brawler like Berry. He also has a brand new trait, which I'm interested to see whether Doug could get a trait like this. I've got a feeling that Doug's going to get this one. So he has a trait that allows him to get super from healing. This is fantastic. So it rewards healing. Again, this could be pretty good. You know, if Byron ever becomes trashing again, you could even make this a trait for Byron. I really like this. It allows you to be more supportive, and I just feel like Bruce doesn't reward that enough, right? I love support characters, so this is a big win. His super makes him so he spins fast and drops paint, healing teammates along the way, also healing them for 3040, which is actually a considerable amount. And then he also drops paint. And then I also noticed in a few clips that also when he like goes after his super and the paint is on the ground, he goes enraged. So that was like, you know, a typical enraged mechanic is that the brawler gets an increased reload speed. You think of like Chester, one of Chester's gadgets allows him to do so. It's kind of similar to this. So that's probably going to be one of his star powers or gadgets. His damage, he deals 1320 damage, which is very similar to one Larry projectile. He heals for 660, so literally half of his damage. So very similar to the drop off of healing like Doug, for example. His super damage is 3040, so that's a considerable amount. And his HP is 5400, which is similar to Gromp. So all in all, I think Berry is actually going to be a really strong brawler. You might not think it with his support. You know, most people don't really find support brawlers fun, but that super, it looks pretty fast, looks pretty dangerous. And he has a built-in trait to get even more supers, deals quite a lot of damage. He is pretty squishy, but I'm looking forward to this. And the final brawler is called Clancy. He's a mythic brawler and he's very similar to Surge. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that is Surge. So essentially he has 3 stages. For every projectile that you hit, it will fill up this bar and it will allow you to advance to his next level. I'm not too sure how many projectiles you need to go up to another level. Probably people have calculated it, but I'd say that it probably increases, like you need more projectiles for the bigger levels because that's when you get bigger and better. So again, a very similar mechanic to Surge, meaning you want to really play for your life so you get more powerful. And you can see by his HP, 6600. That's a similar amount to Max, for example. So it's kind of just above, I would say, the squishy. It's kind of in the medium health pool. So for stage 1, his super damage deals 2400 and it's a big spray. I also forgot to mention as well, the unique thing about him is not only does his projectile change with every level up, his super changes as well, which is really good. I'm glad they didn't just go off this kind of niche with Surge and just rip him off. They have changed things about him. So again, in stage 1, 2400 damage, a big super spray, which I think his super is going to be the best thing about him, by the way. And then his single shot basic just deals 1600. So just like Surge, pretty trash in first level. But then when you get to stage number 2, his main attack projectile fires twice in quick succession. So you could deal like 3200 pretty quickly. So imagine if his unload speed is pretty quick as well, just like Surge. He can deal like 6400 damage with a couple of taps, and then, you know, nearly 10k damage with 3 taps really fast. That could be a lot of damage up close. And his super will cover a much larger area. So again, just one of those bolts deals 2400 damage. That's a lot of damage. That's like, you think 4 of those bolts, nearly 10k damage, along with his main attack. I feel like people might be underrating this brawler. At first, I was like, this guy's trash when I first watched it. Then I watched it like 3-4 times and I was like, hang on a second, he does a lot of damage. And then when you go over to stage number 3, his shots also have sidewinders. So you've, of course, got that main attack projectile, which shoots twice in quick succession. And then you got 2 more shots either side, which are diagonal, which are probably going to be a little bit inaccurate, but I imagine really up close, you can deal a lot of damage. Again, you could probably one-shot a lot of brawlers at point blank range, so that could be pretty toxic. Also, he moves faster whilst using his super, so I think that Clancy could be pretty underrated. I like his mechanic. I feel like people might not enjoy him though, because I don't know, it's just got this kind of feeling about him which could be make or break. But because Surge is popular, I feel like they probably tried to remake him in a few ways. And Clancy could be that kind of Surge type brawler. I don't think it'd be as fun, but you get what I mean. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. All in all, I really like the changes, especially the balance changes that I've seen so far. The hype charges look really fun. The reworks definitely were the ones that are needed, and I would have literally done exactly what they did with all the reworks. And with the brawlers as well, I'm really excited for Berry. He looks completely fresh, completely something they've not done. A thrower healer, it looks really great, and Clancy looks really fun. I think both of these brawlers will be pretty strong as well, like easily A tier in my opinion. But again, for future sneak peeks, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.